Hi folks, John here from Western Sydney Aquarium Plants. This is a short video on why you should clean your aquarium plants before you put them in. So if you're getting aquarium plants from a fish shop, a private seller, you really don't know the conditions in which the plants are grown. So if they're grown in a pond outside, the pond's going to be exposed to all the elements. It might have pond snails in there. It might have Planaria in there. Maybe the pond's right next to a creek or a river, and so that runoff, whatever's in that creek or river, can easily end up into the pond and then contaminate the pond. A lot of aquatic parasites such as fluke, leech eggs, various kinds of diatoms that can really harm your fish and also overbreed in your tank, live in sort of pond-like environment, or they live in creeks, and all that runoff will end up in the pond. So you really don't know where your plant comes from, and you might buy a plant like this from a private seller, and then find out there's snail eggs in there. So here's an example of some snails that I pulled out of my pond. See, this is a floating plant. There we go, a red root floater, and you can see this jelly-like thing on there. I'll just point that out right there. These things here are snail eggs, and these are snails. These are your pond snails. You can see they're always breeding, and sometimes what you can get is these things, because they breed so fast, they're hermaphrodites. They're just going to take over your tank, and then the most sort of irritating thing that I find is they start sort of clinging onto the aquarium glass, and then you can't really enjoy your fish because you've got an infestation of snails covering your fish tank. And so for me, it's very important that I clean my plants, so that at the end of the day I'm not getting or less likely to get snails in the tank. And so the way I do that is I just take a little bit of bleach, and this is my rule of thumb. I use a bottle cap, chuck it in, okay, and then what you can do is you can take, say, snip some of these plants, chuck them in, and you just whirl it around a bit like that, and you leave the plants in there for a good 4 to 6 hours. And what happens is, what you'll find is, if there's any snail eggs behind the plant, the bleach will most likely kill it. What the bleach will also do is it'll kill any algae or microscopic algae that's sort of on the plants, but you don't really know. It'll also kill, at least in my view, a lot of the nasties that you might get in there, like Planaria, which are predatory, and they can kill your shrimp, fluke, that can cause various kinds of diseases on your fish, in your fish. You might have leech eggs that have come into the pond, and you don't know because they're just hidden underneath the leaf. So it's very good to clean them. Now, full disclosure, this is a technique that I use, so please try this at your own sort of risk. So the other thing you can do is, once you've cleaned the plants, it's been in here for a little while, you tip this out and you put fresh water in there, and you rinse and wash the plants 3 or 4 times until it's really clean, and then you put that in the tank. Now, if you're worried, oh, hang on, I don't know if the bleach is going to impact the tank, then perhaps what you want to do is set up a test tank, or put another bucket out once you've thoroughly cleaned the plants. And you can probably put one of your cheaper fish in there, like your guppy, for 5 or 6 hours, just make sure that the fish is all right before you introduce the clean plants into your tank. That's something that I've tried. So folks, this is exactly what I do to get rid of snails, and to ensure that if I do have snail eggs like that, they're really disgusting things to to look at, you know. I chuck a bit of bleach in a bucket of water, chuck the plants in, clean the plants for a couple of hours. Another point I wanted to make is that if you've got aquatic mosses also have a lot of, particularly if they're grown in a fish tank, they will have snail eggs like that. Okay, so it's very hard to get rid of the snail eggs because they're very hard to find, and they could be still in the larval stage where it's or still in that stage where they're very small and you can't really notice it. So you can also put the aquatic moss in here with a little bit of bleach, but I wouldn't, or based on my experience, you know, when I've left it in there for, you know, say 3 to 5 hours, the moss dies. So you want to, if you've got moss in there, you want to only leave it in there for, I would say, a good, you know, 35-40 minutes. So, you know, the thing is, guys, the secret here is a bucket of water, a little bit of bleach, chuck your plants in for 4 or 5 hours. If you've got aquatic moss, keep it in there for, say, you know, a maximum of an hour, and then you know, thoroughly rinse everything 3, 4, 5 times before you put this in your tank, because it could harm your fish if you haven't done it correctly. And if you have any issues or concerns, then you can probably, you know, chuck a guppy in there or one of your cheap fish in there just to test it out, to see that it's safe before you put the plants in. So guys, you know, that's my reason for washing my plants before I put them in my tank. I really want to make sure there's no parasites that can harm my fish, or they've hitched a ride on the plant. You know, I'm very big on that because and also because I hate snails, you know, breeding very fast on the side of my tank. There we go. See these guys? They're just in that sort of mating phase right there, and they'll produce hundreds and hundreds of eggs, which will be, you know, which they'll stick onto the side of the tank. Okay. Now, if you do have a snail infestation already, in my link I've linked some things that you can buy from the market to reduce the snail population in your tank. Now, if you want a really nice sort of organic way of getting rid of the snails, is that, you know, all you got to do is just smash them against the glass, and then your fish will get a taste of the snails, and hopefully they'll start eating them. Okay. And there is a particular fish that loves eating snails, and that's your loach. And you can always buy a loach from your local fish shop. Again, you know, with loaches, or just like any other fish, if you're feeding them well, they're not going to eat the snails. So it's good to smash them and reduce the amount of food you put in, and then they'll start eating all of these snails. Okay.